Hi, good morning to you. It is the October 6th edition of the Carolina Weather Video. The majority of this video will focus on very dangerous Hurricane Matthew that is strengthening in the Bahamas. All right, so let's get right into it. First of all, real quick, temperatures this morning. Another fairly cool, quiet October morning, excuse me, here in the Carolinas. But let's get right into what's happening in the tropics. And again, we're talking about Hurricane Matthew. I wanted to show you this reconnaissance mission underway. And they, on their first pass through Matthew, discovered a readily strengthening hurricane. And I'm afraid this is just a devastating scenario for places such as the island of Nassau. And again, I'll show you that in more detail coming up in just a moment. You can see the eye already on the radar imagery out of Miami right there. And again, this is Nassau right there. And I believe this is going to the center of circulation is going to track near or just slightly west of Nassau. And so this is going to be a really bad situation there. A couple of images here from the Bahamas. And again, so I think you're going to be looking at the center track right up through here. And so as far as Nassau is concerned, there's a close-up shot of Nassau. Now, if you're familiar with Nassau, where Atlantis is and where the cruise ships dock, that's up here, somewhat protected due to the angle that this will be moving. However, I think there could be some big-time inundation problems in a lot of the island. I'm afraid it's going to be a really bad deal there. All right, so let me get back to show you what's happening. There's the high resolution rapid refresh modeling. And I tell you what, it's kind of keeping this more to the southwest. Again, if you look at where this is tracking, though, I think this is kind of the benchmark, whether it tracks up here near Grand Bahama Island or west of there. It's going to be really close, but I think this might be a little bit too far southwest with this track of the system through today, and I think it's not alone. Some of the other models may be a little bit too far southwest. Now, these are the warnings. You have hurricane warnings in effect, of course, for the Bahamas and most of the Florida coast from Miami to Jacksonville under hurricane warnings. And you now have hurricane watches up all the way up to a good chunk of the South Carolina coast. Those will be upgraded to warnings likely later on. So, again, this is an improving look on the satellite imagery. So this is a deepening hurricane, and possibly rapidly so. In fact, let me show you the satellite loop here through the last 6 or 12 hours. You can see this is really getting better organized as it lifts up to the northwest. All right, so let me show you the latest advisory here on Matthew. And again, we'll see what happens as this reconnaissance mission continues, if there's any updates to this, but up to 125 mile per hour sustained winds. Pressure listed at 944. Now, this is going to strengthen to most likely a Category 4 hurricane, at least, as this approaches Florida, and this will make a very close scrape to the Florida coast as we get into tonight and maybe even this evening in some spots if it makes a further south approach. And look at this. This will be one of, if not the strongest hurricane on record for places like the Space Coast of Florida. From there, bends to the north and northeast. This will rake right up near the Florida coast and then pretty close to the Georgia and the South Carolina coast. How strong it is up here in Georgia and South Carolina will be determined by how much time it spends over land in Florida. And then out to sea it goes from there. Now, this is the wind field from Futurecast. Obviously, just a disastrous morning in the northwestern Bahamas, and then this will begin to approach Florida this evening and scrape up the coast tonight and into Friday. Really rough tonight and tomorrow there for the Sunshine State. From there, continues to lift to the northeast, and you can see a track just offshore the Georgia and the South Carolina coasts. Now, this is the European computer model track of this, and it's a little bit more inland than some of the other models. And again, how much time it spends over land in Florida will determine how strong this is when it gets up and impacts Georgia and South Carolina. Here's the European rain totals. Very generous rain event, 9-10 inches of rain in much of eastern South Carolina, southeastern North Carolina. You notice the Interstate 85 corridor kind of on the border between the heavier rain totals and the lighter rain totals. And we'll just have to see how the exact track plays out. So let me show you some of the more detailed modeling. First of all, let's talk storm surge. Some of the new experimental products from the National Hurricane Center. The yellow area, that is 3 feet of storm surge. The orange, that is 6 feet of storm surge. This is down here around the Space Coast, further north. Here's the Georgia into the South Carolina coast. And you see again some of these areas of 3 to 6 inch, 3 to 6 foot rather storm total. So if I said inches, I mean feet earlier. 3 to 6 feet of storm total, storm surge rather, and then up more to the south there, north into the South Carolina coast there toward Charleston. It's just going to depend on the orientation and the strength of the system as it gets up that way. So some of the more detailed modeling here. Let's take a look here first of all at the hurricane. Actually, this is the GFDL near the coast of Florida, and then up the coast it goes. It's more one of those more interior tracks. And let's switch over now and take a look at the hurricane wharf. And I kind of like this solution. I think this track might be a little bit more accurate, lifting up as a powerful hurricane more north on the Florida coast. And then there it goes, just off the Georgia coast, and then close to the South Carolina coast, and kind of just off the North Carolina coast and out to sea from there. Excuse me. Let's look at, and again, I want to show you the UK Met because it was really the first one that picked up what was going to happen. And it too is a little bit north on the Florida coast with this landfall position off the Georgia coast, near the South Carolina coast, and just off the North Carolina coast. And again, I kind of like that solution. Here's the Canadian. Again, it's along those lines that I'm thinking. And there it goes, near, just off the Charleston coast there Saturday morning. And then off it goes, kind of slowly pulling away from the coast from there. Again, I'll say this, the European model is definitely more inland with the track of this in terms of Florida. A little bit more inland. Back out it goes near Jacksonville, and then just off the South Carolina coast. You're splitting hairs, but that's kind of the deal here with a system like this. It's going to basically parallel the coast. A little wobble here or there is going to make a ton of difference in terms of impacts up and down the coast. Let me step you through the GFS real quick. This was the 0Z run. All right, so there we are this evening. There we are Friday morning, tomorrow evening, and then here we are Saturday morning. Oop, sorry. Saturday morning, Saturday early afternoon. And let's see. So I'm going to grab the right chart. All right, here's your wind chart for Saturday early afternoon. And then Saturday evening's winds. There you are Saturday evening with the precipitation fields. And there it goes overnight Saturday night. There's your wind. And finally pulling out Sunday morning. And again, there's your wind on Sunday morning. Precipitation amounts from the GFS also very, very generous. You have some 1 foot plus rain totals in coastal South Carolina, and a lot of folks over 6 inches in the eastern half of South Carolina and into southeastern North Carolina. So what's the bottom line here? Well, again, here's the deal. For the interior Carolinas, maybe a few showers kind of building in here this afternoon, but certainly this evening and tonight, better opportunities for some rain at times. And then as we get on into tomorrow, we're looking at rain at times. Some of it could be heavy here and there. Temperatures held down tomorrow due to the rain. Look at your Friday highs across the region. We get on out into Saturday. That's when the system, Matthew, will slowly begin to pull away from the Carolina coast. Maybe some late day sun in western North Carolina. And then we are in great shape with nice cool autumn weather Sunday onward. For the Carolina coast, this certainly looks more rough for the South Carolina coast versus the North Carolina coast. And we will just have to see the exact track this takes over Florida to see how intense Matthew is by the time it impacts South Carolina and North Carolina. I think this is going to be a very, very rough hurricane for Florida. And again, some of those locations on the eastern coast of Florida, one of the strongest hurricanes they've ever experienced in a few spots, just depending on where it impacts. So, big deal. And this is something we're going to keep watching for you. And of course, we have full tropical updates for you on Time Warner Cable News at 21 and 51 past the hour. And I'll keep doing my best to keep you updated on social media and whatnot. All right, that's it for today. Everybody have a wonderful day. Stay safe, and God bless.